Good evening. Welcome, everyone. We had a closed session, so our meeting was already called to order. I'd like to invite the superintendent to make his comments for tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to just touch base on two topics tonight. One is a draft homework policy. The other is International Peace Day that occurred this past weekend. First, with respect to the homework policy, we have a draft policy listed on the board website, our district's website. That was the work of a committee that took place last year under the direction of both Martin Smith and Gerard Dalton. They had a year-long process with committee reviewing research as well as creating a draft homework policy. That was comprised of district administrators as well as district teachers. That information was shared last week as a draft to our PTA and PTSA exec board leadership. We anticipate that that information will be reviewed through the year, and we've also put it up on the website for the public to give comment, and there is a link to give comment from the link on the website. We also hope that through the year that we'll be able to work on a draft regulation. A draft regulation would be a much more comprehensive process that's multifaceted based on grade level and departmental feedback. So again, we welcome feedback on the drafted policy that's online. And I just wanted to extend my thanks to the Human Relations Committee for the West Windsor Township, as well as to their chairperson, Tasmin Kumar Sultan, for her leadership in the second annual International Day of Peace that was held at High School South this past weekend. The purpose of the day is to build bridges of cultural understanding and to strengthen the idea of peace and diversity in our community. I also want to extend my thanks to the volunteers who came out and the performers, and special thanks to our CMS students, our High School South choir, and all of our students that participated in the peace essay contests. And we should all be proud of our community and the work that we do to promote cultural, social, and emotional development of our children. So again, thank you to the members that were there on Saturday.
Okay, that brings us to our first opportunity for public comments. The board invites thoughts and reactions from members of the public on the agenda items or items of their concerns. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address before speaking, and please hold your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Linda Jeevers, 20 Hawthorne Drive, West Windsor. I'd also like to give my thanks to the school district for having all of our, some of our superintendents, administrators, and students participate in the second annual International Peace Day. It was really nice to have the students. They talked, they did skits, they did dance routines. So it was a nice, very nice community event. So thank you. At our council meeting last night, a West Windsor resident made a public comment saying that several residents in his neighborhood were very concerned about some activity that has taken place there that is under police investigation. And he mentioned that they would like the bus stop at Monterey Drive and Benford Drive to possibly be moved to Benford Drive and Clarksville Road, which he said was like 1 block east. The residents said that they feel the change would provide a more open and safe bus stop. Now, just for the record, I have not spoken with any of the residents. They have not contacted me, but the residents spoke to this resident, another West Windsor resident who came to the council. So I just wanted to communicate that to you. I don't know who's in charge of any of those type of decisions, or if there's someone that these residents should contact first as a matter of procedure. If they want any changes, just let me know. It's been a few years since I've been on the school board, so maybe I don't know whether it's handled through the administration or it goes to a committee or whatever. Just if you could let me know. The second issue, Canal Point Boulevard. It's looking as if the township will move forward with what's called a road diet. Canal Point Boulevard currently has 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction. It is the proposal for the road diet is 1 lane in each direction and having 6-foot wide bike lanes on both sides. Now, the plans for this proposed road diet are on the municipal website. There will be 2 new bus cutouts. However, when we go from 2 lanes in each direction, 2 to 1, when we have the late school bus runs, which is, I don't know, 4:15, 4:30, 5:30, something like that, according to the district website, you could have more backups in traffic, because now everyone is behind the bus every time it stops, and there are 6, 7 blocks where it could stop. So the mayor did say that he was going to, I guess, speak with Dr. Adderhold about that. So it's just putting it on the radar screen. We're not repaving it yet. Our goal was to get that project done, the repaving and restriping, by the end of this year. Not 100% sure because of the timing of going out for bids and things like that. But I just want to make you aware of that, and to see, if there's any changes that might be needed. So it's on the municipal website. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Virginia Manzari, 28 Berkshire Drive. I read Mr. Adderhold's op-ed piece from a few days ago, and while I was glad to see him speaking out against using PARC to evaluate teachers, he doesn't say much about the insanity of using PARC as a graduation requirement. Why isn't he speaking out in support of our children? I also agree with him that it is a huge mistake to put Pearson in charge of videotaping student teachers as part of their certification process. However, I don't understand his decision to refuse to host student teachers. What consequence will that have, except to make it more difficult for would-be teachers to find a place to do their student teaching, and thus exacerbate the teacher shortage that we have in New Jersey? And as much as Mr. Adderhold states that giving Pearson this control is a mistake, and that he has concerns about student-teacher privacy, which I agree with, where is his concern for our children's privacy? Both PARC and MAP testing are huge data gathering tools, and our kids' information is shared with dozens of outside agencies and private companies. And if Pearson is such a concern, as it is to me, then why are so many of our new textbooks that are approved right here mistake-laden Pearson textbooks? So I have more questions than answers after reading Mr. Adderhold's op-ed piece. But one thing is clear, it's up to this board to push back and protect our students against this ridiculous graduation requirement, and push back against the takeover of our children's education by Pearson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica Mina, 41 Galston Drive. I am dumbfounded at the fact that I still read the letter of the editor that I wrote on September 19, comments from Mr. Flores such as, before anyone whips himself into a frenzy. These type of statements are the ones that actually have gotten Mr. Flores into trouble with the School of Ethics Commission, as you now have 1 but 2 complaints that you have been filed against you. Mr. Flores, as president of the BOE, you need to be very careful how you phrase things and ensure that you do not have an instinct reaction, but more of a cerebral reaction when you write this type of things. If you listen very carefully to the public comments to the third parent speaking to this, she states that Mr. Smith, during the training to the parents of 5th grade students that they're eligible to Chromebooks, teachers have been saying that it would be a very good idea to give Chromebooks to 2nd graders. This parent asked Mr. Smith to provide evidence of such statement. Of course, Mr. Smith ignored that request. I am here once again to request Mr. Smith to provide such an evidence. Going forward, Mr. Flores, as a public officer, I strongly advise you to please not keep calling residents on the paper, as that is viewed as an intimidation and a tactic on your behalf. If and when Ethics Commission provides a verdict of these 2 complaints, my husband and I will see how we will proceed. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Jennifer Kelly, 35 Windsor Drive. I'm here today because I had a meeting at a school for my daughter with the special services, and I requested an independent evaluation from a specific company that we had used at this district for another one of my children, and was told that it was no longer an approved independent evaluator by this board. And I went on the website, and it is listed. It's called Beyond Communications. They were listed as approved on the website, although this special service agent told me that it was not, nor did this agent tell me a list of those that were approved. I would like the website to either be updated or to be provided with a list of approved independent evaluation companies or evaluators.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Foley from 29 Hawthorne Drive in West Windsor. I'm speaking this evening as a satisfied taxpayer. Both of our high schools made significant gains in the New Jersey school rankings this year, and I would mention that that was during the tenure of our current superintendent, his assistants, and many of the members of the board who are sitting here this evening. I'd like to express my appreciation to the central administration, to the principals and the teachers for supporting the educational and extracurricular programming that earned us this recognition. I'd like to note that the top-ranked Chatham High School, which is the only one that outranked High School North, has 20% fewer students than High School North, and also it has a significantly less diverse student body. I consider this district's diversity to be one of our great strengths, but this wasn't factored into the rankings. I'm also very pleased with other aspects of the educational experience that cannot be measured by the New Jersey Monthly ranking criteria. At a recent back-to-school night, I went from classroom to classroom, and I was reminded that this district remains at the forefront of best practices in education. Our teachers are implementing innovative teaching techniques that have prepared my children well for college and life beyond. For example, my son is a freshman in a mechanical engineering department. He left this district with a breadth of experience in the student-driven, collaborative, and project-based learning exercises that have become a staple in the best engineering schools in this country. As far as I'm concerned, parents in this district are getting a real bargain. We spend less per pupil than surrounding comparable districts, and our district budget's a fraction of the money spent by numerous districts in the state that spend $20,000, $30,000, and even $40,000 per pupil. Our actual budgeted cost per pupil in the most recently reported year is well under $14,000. So today, I'm feeling particularly grateful that there's one little corner of government that is using my tax dollars wisely. That little corner of government is the West Windsor-Plainsboro School District, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good evening. Peter Sierick, Plainsboro, New Jersey. 23 Bradford, sorry. I know we're celebrating a lot about this new rankings, and I don't know how those work. But I just want to remind, I hope we take an assessment of what we did last year. We did a lot of radical things, my opinion, a lot of radical things last year. And while we're celebrating that things are going well, we haven't really seen the effects because all those changes happened over last year. So I hope that these changes will give better results in the future, but I hope that we're monitoring it as well. Because you can't say that the changes we made last year, look, there's no big deal, but they're doing great, because we really don't know yet. So I hope we have measurements, and I hope this year we sort of maybe step back, see how those changes last year do before we start making more changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and my name is Fang Shu. I live at 3 Findlay Lane, West Windsor. And sitting there as a parent, I'm so glad to hear that some parents are really happy about changes and also happy about the experience happened in West Windsor. That's really good. I think that's because the board members and administrators actually did their best to make this school very good. And I'm here and also want to reflect another parent's request or suggestion of follow-up. We have been introduced so many changes, especially in the last 2 years. And as far as I can recall, and changes related to academics, such as limiting the freshmen's selection of science courses. And as for my children were not impacted by that change, but I heard from some underclassmen's parents that currently the freshmen cannot take more than two, cannot double up science courses. And also, 2 years ago, we introduced the option 2 policy, and the students are limited the number of option 2 courses they can take per year. And I think the limitation is limited to 1. And also, about option 2, and the student cannot take more than 1 within a specific subject area in their whole high school career. And all those changes actually happened in the last 2 years. I wonder if our school board, especially the curriculum committee, follow up on the impact of these changes. Will that make a student less stressed? Will that make the student more advanced or prepared for the college education? And from my perspective, from my personal experience, I see 2 result of this latest change. Our current seniors probably will have no chance to finish all the science courses, advanced courses offered by school, our school. I think that is a drawback for the student, because after all, our school has so much super teachers. They could actually give the students advantage of and give them exposure to the advanced knowledge. I think that's something maybe our current board or curriculum committee think about. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, just a couple of things. Ms. Kelly, if you give me an email or one of us later on, we'll get you a list. Or if you get Gerard in your email, he'll get you a list of the evaluators. Okay? Linda, would you send Larry the issue about the bus stop, and he'll, or at least tell whoever's got the issue, that's who to write to. All right, there was a comment about not the students not being able to take all of their science courses. I'm perplexed by that because, to my understanding, there's nothing stopping students from completing all of the AP side. Martin, can you answer that?
Yeah, that would certainly be the case. There's nothing in the current policies, either with option 2 or in the changes for the prerequisites that we made last year in the program of studies, that wouldn't allow any student who so desired to be able to complete all of the advanced science courses. And I believe what one's thinking about there is AP biology, AP chemistry, and our advanced physics course, TOEFL topics in physics. And a student certainly could finish all of those courses. Yes, one would have to double up somewhere along the line, probably double up in junior year or double up in senior year to take 2 of those 3 courses. But many students have done that over the years, and that certainly continues to be a possibility. There's nothing that limits that. I know
so-
last year when we were talking about that, there was a question if you could complete them by junior year. And no, you probably couldn't complete them by junior year, but certainly by senior year.
Okay. Why don't we talk after the meeting if there's a question, we'll talk after the meeting. I'll be around. Okay? Okay, that brings us to committee reports, Administration and Facilities.
The Administration and Facilities Committee met on Tuesday, September 20th. We began our meeting with a member of the community who discussed possible grant applications to encourage more students to walk to school. The committee will continue to review this information related to this proposal. Next, we discussed the possible need to create a new staff position called Oprah Request Coordinator to handle the significant increase in Open Public Records Act requests received by the district. From 2004 to 2014, the number of Oprah requests that the district received averaged 10 to 15 per year. In 2014-15 school year, there were 27 requests. Last year, 2015-16, there were 88 requests. When we met a week ago, the district had received 46 requests for this school year, which is 46 requests since July 1st. We are now aware that additional requests have been submitted in the week since our meeting. So the committee will continue to review the data at future committee meetings to determine if this additional staff position is necessary. Administration requested policy guidance from Strauss Esme for a policy to address website accessibilities for individuals with disabilities. Strauss Esme is researching the topic further to determine the legal requirements of such a policy. The committee reviewed Policy 5516, use of electronic communication and recording devices. We've asked the administration to get further input from Strauss Esme before we can move this policy forward for a first reading. The committee supports the recommendation by administration and the athletic director to host the NJSIAA Field Hockey Tournament of Champions at High School North on November 14th and 15th. This will be the second year that we host this event. We reviewed information from the Human Resources Department regarding substitute secretarial pay rates. The committee supports the recommendation to change the substitute rates to $12 per hour for secretaries with less than 11 years of service in the district and $14 per hour to our most experienced secretaries with more than 11 years of district experience. Administration described the addition of a handicap accessible ramp to the front entrance at Maurice Hawk. The district will work with the district architect to move this project forward. New Jersey state law requires that the district test every water fountain and drinking water source for lead. Buildings and Ground will address this requirement with an approved vendor. Administration presented the memorandums of agreement between education and law enforcement officials, and these agreements provide guidance to the school districts and law enforcement on cooperative efforts to address areas of concern where mutual interests exist. The memorandums of agreement with West Windsor and Plainsboro appear on tonight's agenda, and the committee supports their approval. Finally, the Administration and Special Services Department presented information for the district to participate in a pilot for facilitated individualized education program. This pilot program comes out of the New Jersey Department of Education Office of Special Education. The program provides training for district supervisors and facilitators to assist the district in resolving IEP disagreements with parents and guardians. The program is at no cost to the district and voluntary for both the district and parents or guardians. A resolution for this agreement appears on tonight's agenda, and the committee supports this resolution. The A&F committee will meet next on Monday, October 10th.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just one quick question. I think it will be very helpful to understand the opera requests. I know not all the opera requests come as equal. Some may take more time, some may take less. So is there, if we can study the historical data and try to figure out, average, how long it takes, it will be helpful.
Yes, the
Yeah.
committee has reviewed the amount of time that it takes for district personnel to respond to those requests. We've also reviewed whether or not legal consultation is required and the financial impact of that. And that's all part of the information that we are reviewing. And we'll continue to review that to see if we need to make an addition to staff.
Excuse me, what do you mean financial impact?
How much additional costs in legal services, for
Okay.
example?
Okay, thanks.
Can you bring those additional costs to a future meeting, please?
Any other questions? Okay, finance?
Okay, the Finance Committee met on September 20th. Staff updated the committee on the Quality Single Accountability Continuum. We need to submit an assortment of documents to the state, and staff is working on these and shared them with us. The board will be asked to approve submission of the required CUSAC items next month. The committee reviewed the agenda items for tonight and supports them. Work on the 2015-16 audit is proceeding. A few practices have attracted the attention of the auditors and may result in some management findings. Staff reviewed summer construction. The 2 projects that had not been completed were discussed. The town center playground is complete and in use by students. The robotics room nears completion, but some details still need to be worked out. Transportation had a good start for the year. The department has stayed on top of the issues that have developed. The district has experienced a spate of HVAC issues, which Aramark and contractors are working on. Long term, we will need to invest in some new control systems. The Director of Building and Grounds has resigned as of the end of October, and the committee discussed hiring some recently retired persons to help while we search for a new director. The committee also looked at a chart of teacher resource specialists, which should be discussed by the full board during our budget discussions. The committee will next meet on October 13th.
Any questions? Okay, that brings us to administration. Can I have a motion on items 1 to 6 plus the yellow addendum, Isaac and Michelle? Any questions or comments on the administration items?
Mr. Chang?
Yep.
Ms. Ho?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Wisey Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor Jean?
Yes.
Ms. Cage?
Yes.
Mr. Flares?
Yes.
8-0.
Okay, curriculum, can I have a motion on item 1, Wisey and Dana? Any questions on that item?
Ms. Ho?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Wisey Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Chang?
Yes.
Ms. Cage?
Yes.
Mr. Flares?
Yes.
8-0.
Okay, finance, can I have a motion on items 1 to 15? Taylor and Scott? Any questions or comments on the finance items?
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Wisey Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Chang?
Yes.
Ms. Ho?
Yes.
Ms. Cage?
Yes.
Mr. Flares?
Yes.
8-0.
Okay, personnel, I have a motion, excuse me, motion on items 1 and 2, plus there's a white addendum, a blue addendum, and another white addendum that was passed out. I have a motion on that. It'll be Louisa and Michelle. Any questions on the personnel?
Yeah, on the TAM amendment, what is the per diem rate? Thank you.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Wisey Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor Jean?
Yes.
Mr. Chang?
Yes.
Ms. Ho?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Cage?
Yes.
Mr. Flares?
Yes.
8-0.
Okay, I have a motion on approval of the minutes. Dana and Scott. Any questions on the minutes? Those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any liaison reports? Any new business? Okay, that brings us to the second opportunity for public comment. We'll reserve 15 minutes for comment. Please give your name and address.
Good evening. Bruce Salmastrelli, President of the West Windsor-Plainsboro Education Association. I guess the address would be here. I'm actually surprised that I'm up here tonight because I'm not a fan of me on tape, and I do tend to be a little shy, so I feel like singing Carol Burnett's song, Shy, from Once Upon a Mattress. If you've seen that, it's a funny song. But today, I want to rise to commend our superintendent on his recent New Jersey Spotlight article. I believe that he's spot on when it comes to his SGP comments. We are all baffled as teachers why this 11th hour change, even this, I would call this Nixonian Saturday Night Massacre. Why this change at the last minute? I, as a teacher, would never make this change the day before a presentation for my students. Even though I have to commend our neighboring Board of Education, Princeton, who just came out with a comment on questioning why these changes made. But I'd also like to commend Dr. Addold, and I've heard many comments from my colleagues in the NJEA, for raising some important issues in his op-ed. You know what? The student-teacher regulations. I wonder where that's going to go next. We do a good job here bringing student teachers in and working with them. Do we need to give Pearson the money? My worry is if student teachers today, teachers tomorrow, I don't necessarily support that. I also want to commend your comments on testing. I'd like to read into the record what you wrote. The unspoken messages that the New Jersey Department of Education and the Board of Education believe that they can change educational outcomes by implementing a system of standardized tests, data points, and accountability measures. I believe that if you create valid and reliable assessments instruments, that's all students need. We do that here. So I want to commend you on that. And finally, I must agree that we all need to rebuff the politicization of public education, of the reach into the pockets of local boards of education. So I want to commend you for that. I didn't get an opportunity at the last board meeting to say thank you for your time and your commitment to the community. It does mean a lot to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Veronica Mina, 41 Galston Drive. I wanted to talk regarding the opera request. Actually, 2 points regarding that. According to the letter that Councillor Harrison sent to me in name of Mr. Adhol and Mr. Flores, which once again I believe there was kind of like a intimidation tactic. Opera request, there should not be any financial impact, because opera request, there's no need to create any type of document, there's no need to create any type of chart, there's no need to create any type of anything. Or the document exists or doesn't exist. So I am extremely confused, Ms. Kaish, when you say that there's a financial impact, because according to what Mr. Harrison said in the letter, and I'll be more than happy to forward the letter to you, the document or exists or it doesn't exist. So it seems that there is some sort of disconnect in what Mr. Harrison said and what you just said in your testimony here at the BOE. The second point that I wanted to bring to your attention is that all the opera requests seems to be really high is because it seems that we cannot get, at least in my situation is, I sent to Ms. Hartner saying, please provide me with the statement for capital reserves from June 30th, 2016 to September 19, 2016. And basically she provided me balance June 30th, 2015 to balance June 30th, 2016. So I need to send her another opera request saying, these are not the dates that I requested. The dates that I requested are the following. So it seems that the opera requests are too many, but it seems that Ms. Hutner doesn't read the opera request. So, or I don't know if we need another assistant, or we need Ms. Hutner to actually read the opera request that we sent to her. Thank you.
Hi, this is Feng Shu again, living at 3 Findlay Lane. Thank you for Mr. Fleck and Mr. Smith addressing my inquiry. And I guess I didn't make mine clear. The reason I said that some students won't be able to take all these advanced science courses are because they are students take electives such as orchestra. Some students are dedicated to be four-year orchestra players, and that prevent them from taking double science. And that's my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? I think the superintendent would like to say something now.
So my thanks to Ms. Manzari for her comments regarding the New Jersey Spotlight article or op-ed that I put in, and I want to just address a couple of her concerns. So as a school district, we have obligations to do certain things. We have to align to standards that are approved by the New Jersey Department of Education and New Jersey State Board of Education. We have to meet the teacher evaluation requirements as per, well, sometimes proclamation from on high from the commissioner or others. And we have to meet the graduation requirements established by the State Board of Education. But what I don't have to do is I don't have to accept student teachers here. So take it as a form of protest. Take it for what it is. But with student teaching starting in the 17-18 school year comes videotaping. And the colleges have already signed contracts with providers, which means that the contract I heard about yesterday, I don't know if we can get our hands on it through an Oprah request, but 4 years of videotape has to be on hold. That the student's videotape, the videotape of that student teacher's classroom, has to be maintained for 4 years. Now, there's nothing that we've seen that says what can and can't happen with it. There's a confidentiality agreement that, quite frankly, I don't have any faith in. So where this starts from is something called EdTPA, which by all accounts is a strong instrument that uses the scale instrument out of Stanford University, created by Stanford professors in order to show growth and measurement for student teachers. I don't have a problem with that assessment on its merits. My objection is then the way you implement it en masse is to hire an outside vendor to then manage that and manage that instrument. And that's where, in this case, Pearson won the award by the state of New Jersey to implement that particular measure. With that comes some requirements for student teachers that include a $300 filming fee and scoring fee. For not that the filming is really the scoring and uploading of the measure, in which there's 3 to 5 lessons that must be videotaped. If their videotape is not scored to meet the standard that's established by an outside scorer that has videotape of our children and student teachers, then they don't receive their licensure. So one of my other objections to this is that the state of New Jersey has taken licensure for teachers and given it to an outside agency through a third-party vendor. In the past, it was pass your student teaching, recommendation of your cooperating teacher, recommendation of your professor, and the passing of a praxis, a benchmark assessment that student teachers had to pass in order to gain licensure. But this is a little different because now this is an individual person's interpretation on a rubric of a videotape of our students. And I wouldn't want that for my children. I don't want it for your children. If a university or college was to say that they would like student teachers here with absence of videotaping, we will entertain student teachers. But in order for them to gain their license after the 16-17 school year, they must have a videotape. And therefore, until that rule changes, we will protest. We'll protest student teaching. Now, at my core, we are supposed to give back to our profession, to work with student teachers. This will not impact junior teachers in the junior year of their college, coming and working with our staff. So you might see college students in their junior year working with, but if they introduce videotaping for the juniors, then we're going to have to revisit that. This is an evolving issue. I've already spoken with 2 universities since Friday, and I've also talked to multiple superintendents that will be following suit. Right? The reality is this doesn't change unless we draw a line. So I can appreciate the comments regarding graduation requirements, but read it again, because I have tremendous objections with the changes for the freshmen or our current 8th grade in a class, our freshmen in 2020 and 2021. This also impacts, so for us, if we think of it, we have freshmen taking Algebra 1 right now. Excuse me, we have 8th graders taking Algebra 1, and we have 7th graders taking Algebra 1, which means for our freshmen, they must sit for the assessment. For our 8th graders, they must sit and pass the assessment, and for our 7th graders, they must sit and pass the assessment. So for parents in our community right now, these changes in graduation requirements, as I spoke at the last meeting that was filmed, impact our current students, our current 7th and 8th graders and 9th graders with the PARCC changes regarding Algebra 1 this year. Next year, it will start impacting with ELA 10. But this is a big change. And I was with the New Jersey Superintendent's Association. I sit on their legislative committee. We met today to discuss the concerns regarding this and other. I'll be meeting with another group of 90 school districts tomorrow to talk about these changes. So to say that we're not out there fighting the fight for our students, disingenuous. It's just didn't make the article. And actually it did make the article, just not every aspect of it. So we are out there advocating for the students of West Windsor-Plainsboro and beyond. We're out there advocating for our teachers, and we're out there actually advocating for our student teachers, because these changes are ludicrous.
Thank you. Any board member comments? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Michelle and Taylor. Those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank everybody for coming out. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Or 3 weeks.